Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our show, What Now? I'm here with yet another interesting topic and dialogue with my lady friends or friends, daughter of the earth. And, it's like, so I'm so excited already, even though the world is quite sad at the moment, because all of us are in our hearts. We are all of us are bearing this pain of this transition that, from COVID to post-COVID, we thought, though we knew there would be some, there would be some disasters here and there, but not to this extent. And this is what our dialogue today is framed around. How can we all help in this process of transition with our conscious, compassionate communication, which is my friend Mandira would be talking about. And I have a very dear friend, which was recommended by John Hilbrey, from joining us from Wigan in northwest of England, Rowena Rowley, and we have Mandira joining us from Goa again? No, India, Goa. Yes, okay.
Gurgaon, currently Gurgaon.
Gurgaon, yes.
Yeah.
So in our previous show, we spoke about systems thinking, and just this morning, I was just tweeting with a friend, and he said about the shift away from systems thinking to systems sensing, right? As in, we need to now, collapsing the subject-object dualism, because there is a lot of duality, as we know, and it requires some self-mastery. It definitely needs that, because without that, we can't even, some of us who call ourselves as the midwives of the process, how we are helping the process, it requires some self-mastery. And Mandira and I have been talking about wounded healers, or, healing the healers, because the healers also need some healing. And how can we heal each other? We know that Rowena here would be talking about how nature is healing. But then we have to also be very mindful about our own, what I call the solidarity, soul-to-soul connection. That's healing as well. And communication plays a big role in that. So Mandira has been our guest before. She is a healer in so many ways. Mandira is going to be talking about transactional analysis. She'll tell us what that is about. And, something about Gurdjieff movements as well. That's also about being present, the atmospheric presence. It's the whole, the part, it's not the part, it's the whole. How our natures are also connected to the nature. And Rowena would be also sharing with us as being the daughter of a farmer and being an entrepreneur and also a traveler, right? The daughter of the earth.
Yeah.
So let's continue. Let's start. It's going to be an interesting dialogue. So I'll start with Rowena. Here, if you could briefly introduce yourself, or maybe just tell us about who Rowena is and your life story, how farming and traveling, what is the connection, and what is your earth connection as well with the farm. So welcome to our show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for including me. Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in quite an idyllic situation, really, on a family farm with my parents at home and working hard all the time, and being in an environment where there was a lot to observe and take in and be part of, with nature, with animals. and it's a great process and connection with that world. And it's always fascinating when you go somewhere else, and everybody's always very interested to hear about the farm and ask you questions about the animals and what you have and what you do. And I love that. You know, when I've been on my travels, I sort of went away, went to university, came back to a situation where the farm was quite struggling to survive in its current situation. And with my brother, we diversified and we improved the farm shop that we had. And at the time, that was culminating in a general feeling that there was with people wanting to be a bit more connected with perhaps where their food was coming from, with the subject of sustainability, with locality of the things that we consume, and people wanted this shop. They wanted the to feel connected to what where they were getting their food from. And so it was a really successful thing that we did, and we built the shop up, and I ran the shop for 10 years. And then I decided that I wanted to go off and do other things and travel and connect with other things. But and it was a great thing for me to do personally, and I've since come back to the farm as well on a temporary basis, and I keep sort of going to and fro and feeling that I'm growing and developing all the time, and seeing things in such a wider scope, and not just with the world that I was brought up in. So it's been a wonderful journey, really, to be able to have the freedom as well to do what I've done and be here on the farm with nature, and go away and do something completely different and come back again. But yeah, like I said, everyone's always fascinated with a farm and animals and how it works. Everyone from any walk of life, wherever you go, they want to know about it.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Let's bring Mandira in now. So Mandira, tell us about these conscious, compassionate communication that you and I were talking about. Why is it important more than ever now?
Well, I think you found it on my WhatsApp status, and there is a reason for that, because I have been attempting to practice conscious talking for many years now, which means speaking only as much as is necessary, because as we know, everything is energy. And I used to be many years ago somebody who couldn't keep her mouth shut, and it's it's been a journey to here to a point now where I don't want to speak more than is necessary, because that energy that I hold and maintain is of far greater value and can be used for healing, basically. I found in that process that oftentimes I am considered terse or curt by certain people because I won't engage in a conversation more than is necessary, most especially keeping in mind that where I live. So you know the practices here. Sometime a couple of years ago, I came across nonviolent communication, which is also known as compassionate communication, as a method for improving communication skills and you know, attempting to enhance partnership. And I am currently training with someone called Chris Miller in Honolulu in compassionate communication. But strangely enough, I had included that term into on my WhatsApp status because I wanted to remind myself that others around here don't understand my need to not speak, and I need to remain more compassionate to that, perhaps. So maybe my tone needs to be softer, or what my words need to change, and that's been the effort. it for me also ties in with the Sufi way of being kind. And you know, if you can't say something kindly, then don't say it. Also is something I attempt to follow. So so that's been the effort. And compassionate communication as a module for healing and for improving communication is something I'm interested in, because I think it's vital to the work of enhancing partnerships, moving away from the domination submission model in this world, which is very much like the parent-child model, where, you know, one person is more powerful than the other. And here we're really talking about partnering, co-creating, be it with nature, be it with the universe, be it with God, whatever one's personal beliefs are. So ties in for me with that. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Because I feel like, so I'm giving it another twist here. You know, the information overload for all of us.
Exactly.
You know, it's taken, it consumes your attention. You know, so many people, I mean, I have an issue with people, and I'm saying it out loud, when people don't listen deeply. I keep on saying, you know, at least listen. So it's even before you speak, they've just made up their mind. And I think it's because of this information overload, which has, I was just reading this quote, which I'm going to share with everybody, by Herbert Simon. So he says, information consumes attention. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. So there is this poverty of attention that we don't pay attention to ourselves, starting from ourselves, then our environment. We're not even listening to we're not connected to the rhythms. And maybe Rowena can add something here, being, you know, living at the farm, how this rhythm, you know, the nature's rhythm, it's sort of, you know,
I totally agree. I mean,
go on.
I totally agree with what you've said. And I think personally, I've subconsciously tried to reduce all that sort of noise. There's too much of it. And I've tried to select what I do listen and take in, because it's, as I've been on my journey, I feel like I've become a lot more sensitive to things that I see and hear. So it's really important to me what I do take note of, really. And being in an environment like the farm, you can choose to just go away and get away from that. And just yesterday, I just thought, I'll have a walk, and I just walked up the field on the land, and just walked up the edge, and there was cattle in the field, and they were running around and following me, and it was quite good fun. But just, you know, I had no phone, no nothing, and you can just go for a walk and just do as you want. And I love, there's a great thing about observing the animals, really. I mean, at the moment I'm working on the farm with my dad, and I'm feeding and looking after the cattle and the hens and things every day in a routine. And that's really helpful in this time, I think, where we're constricted to what we have to do. And to have this sort of this routine, this helpful routine, has been a great thing for me. And I think a lot of people would benefit from having that connection and being able to observe the animals and what they do, and the overwhelming wonder of it, and it's so humbling, so completely humbling.
Must be. And you know, nature has its own symphony. You know, it's noisy as it is. You know, birds and waterfall, and you know, the flow of water. But it has such a calming effect, and I think that was one of the things that everybody also welcomed and enjoyed during this pause. That there was this silence. You know, everybody is sort of confined, and then birds and animals were roaming freely, you know, because I actually healed so many of us. I think it did. I've heard so many people saying this. And now it's back to the routine. I mean, the lockdown has been completely lifted in India, Mandira was saying, partially lifted in the UK. So we would just go back to what we assumed was normal. So tell me about, maybe you can add something here, Rowena. What do you think about this new normal? Do you believe there is a new normal? And could that new normal be that, as you said, people take interest and get fascinated by farming? I was reading somewhere that, there's an article which says that new jobs could be and will be created in farming and, food creation, because we all need, if nothing else, we need to eat to survive, right? So what do you say?
Yes.
Please?
These basic elements have come back into play, and the need for them has been realised, because with farming, a lot of production, we rely on a lot of production from abroad, and obviously with this constrictions going on with travel, deliveries, people to do these jobs, it's, there's been a few comments, I know, in the farm yard, because we have a farm shop on the farm, so which has been open and it's been busy, and there's been, people have been coming with needs and realizing that they can't get those things that they might have had been able to get with no problem before. Suddenly they can't. And there's been comments about sort of, it's like they used to have it in the war and this sort of thing. You have to make do with what you've got and be happy with it. And I think I hope that all this will have been quite an awakening for people to realise the things that they perhaps didn't need and the things that do matter. And coming back to those basic values.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Sure. Yeah. There was a seminar, like a forum on BBC as well, of youngsters. So they were talking about how youngsters have been most affected by this and being confined, and social distancing, especially because, they are more social than maybe you and I, Mandira. We are happy with our solitude.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that there was this young girl. She's a representative of a young organization, and she was saying that this has given us the opportunity to go deeper inside and understand that the things we never needed. So yes, money could be scarce at the moment, but why would we need to accumulate so many things? And we wasted our money on all that. So coming back from a young person is definitely an awakening and something, a shift, I feel.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So I was quite glad. So let's bring Mandira in. What's happening in India post-COVID lockdown?
Well, before I get to that, if I may add to, just that, so many diseases today are lifestyle diseases, and they are such because we've moved away from the natural rhythms of the universe and away from nature. And I must say, I really envy, Rowena, your life at the farm, because it's been my sort of dream to be able to have my own little space where I can grow my own food, where I can rise with the sun and, go to bed with the birds, kind of thing. Celebrate each day, eat, drink, work, dance, sing, and go to sleep. And that's it. That's really, according to me, what this life is for. And what you were saying, why do we accumulate so much? What do we need it for? And, there are those lines in the Rubaiyat, unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. Why fret about them if today be sweet?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And
very good.
And that's really a point of power is the present moment. And hopefully, and like Rowena said, hopefully during this pause, a lot of people have realized that and would come back to being more essential, being more present, definitely less greedy. So that is the hope. How is India doing? It's pretty chaotic. There is, I think what has grown during this time has been a lot of compassion and support for each other, which was lost earlier in the busy, the running around of every day and the craziness of every day. I keep a lot to myself, as you know, Nika, and I step out, like my speaking, my stepping out, my activities also only when necessary. So I'm not that well connected in terms of what's happening outside, but it's the usual chaos. I don't know. It's happening all over the world. It's a time of great transition. And the one thing I do believe is that those of us who remain conscious, who remain on the path of consciousness, are going to be able to possibly get through this in a more balanced way, and come out on the other side and hopefully pick up the pieces for the rest of the world and help put them back and join Rowena on her farm, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you know what, I must be open about this, that so many people are saying, just last night somebody gave me feedback on our channel saying it's very esoteric, your topics and your discussions. And I wanted to maybe touch on that, because yes, people say it's very philosophical, and I remember, Mandira, you also say we need to have some practical tools and advice as well, rather than just always going into the philosophy. So how about asking both of you to give people some practical tips, especially Mandira, you can maybe tell us about the transactional analysis you do as you give healing, and also particularly about the dance movements, because connecting the dots of the conscious and compassionate communication and dance movement, it's expression, right? And when our expressions, human expressions, our expressions, natural rhythms have been snubbed by our lifestyles, then what happens? This is the chaos maybe we are seeing. I mean, you and I and Rowena, we believe in this. But then what are we doing about it? How do we communicate to others as well? So maybe this is a question for all of us, but particularly you, both of you as my guests.
Sure. So you wanted to know about transaction analysis. It's a method that I use for counseling. I'm a trained facilitator, and it's really a standalone method in psychotherapy. It's a framework of tools that help us understand the transactions that go on within us, within our own beings, and then also our transactions with others. That means our exchanges with others. And why is it that we, sort of end up with certain outcomes from time to time, if we wish to analyze them. It is also a framework of tools which helps us go and explore our early childhood messages, and to be able to find any trauma there or any stoppers which are holding us back in our current adult life, because the early messages can become stoppers for us or prohibitions for us. So it is a system that I was introduced to for my own process many years ago, when I came to a breakthrough point in my life. And I found it tremendously powerful in helping me empower myself rather than being subject to somebody else's opinion and guidance. I was able to find myself and guide myself by the use of this system, which is why later when I healed myself, I went on to train so that I could help others empower themselves. And also this is why I use the term the parent-child kind of exchange that we have, the position that we have towards authority and ourselves being lesser than, etc. All of that can be explained through this. And if we want to move towards towards a partnership model, then we're talking more about individuating, becoming adult, becoming self-sufficient, being able to take care of ourselves in different ways, which is what then brings us to taking care of ourselves. Self-care, self-responsibility is where we need to be able to change what's happening in the world. That is also, in my understanding, what the age of the Aquarius is talking about. It starts with me.
Yeah, but there's definitely, there's a fine line between individuation and individualism as well, I believe, because then self-care becomes too much about me. I'm not going to give you this compassionate, lend you my ear, because I have to also protect, and this is about self-care. I mean, I hear people saying this.
Sure. And you might have heard Carl Rogers speak about what is called proper selfishness. And that's really, if you don't, we must take care of ourselves, because if we don't, then we really can't take care of others. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as getting the oxygen mask first in the flight, because if you become unconscious, how are you going to help your child or your neighbor? It's as simple as that. But yes, it's viewed as selfishness, but that's why he called it proper selfishness, to explain that. We're not talking about overindulgence. We're not talking about self-indulgence. We're talking about me taking care of my thoughts, clearing my beliefs and making them healthy, learning about handling my emotions, becoming more emotionally aware and intelligent, taking care of my body, because all of it is connected and related. And if I'm healthy, then in those three aspects or those centers of myself, then I have the possibility to transcend to the fourth plane. And that's what Gurdjieff teaches, that we can then become observers or witnesses to our own selves. We become conscious then. But if any one of those centers is in trouble or out of alignment, it's going to keep drawing our energy back there. And yes, to be in that state of being, we do, along with everything else, need to be connected to our senses, to be alive to the constant flow of amazing energy that the universe is sending our way, the universe or nature. We've got to be open to receiving that. And in modern life, with, as you said, the information overload and many other influences, we've shut down our senses, which is also why there is so much more disease. Because for the person who wakes up in the fresh air, walks the earth through the day, this person
Rowena.
sitting with us, yes, it's a whole different energetic vibration that she would have, and yes, the animals and all of that. So, did that kind of answer
for sure?
Okay.
Over to you, Rowena. Give us some practical tips about farming entrepreneurship, the eco entrepreneurs. Is this anything?
Well, I think it's wonderful what Mandira said, because I completely agree, and it's and this element of going somewhere and being completely on your own. But even with me growing up on the farm, there was constant elements and influences coming in, but I still felt that I needed to break away from that which was always there, this thing that was always there. I knew that I needed to leave that to go and figure things out completely on my own. I had this great desire to be on my own and get away and figure things out, and things go wrong, whatever, you just figure it out on your own, you do it, and just felt that that's what I had to do. So having the support of knowing that perhaps that farm and that connection to the earth and the animals and everything was there, perhaps that did provide me with a strength. So when I went off and did my travels and just wanted to be on my own, and I felt this solidness. That's all I can describe it as. You know, you can use all the usual cliches of discovering yourself, finding yourself, and all that sort of thing. But whatever it was, and whatever it is a totally personal thing, a personal journey, and you have to grow and develop in your own way. But I would advise anyone just to go and be on your own and enjoy it, and just enjoy being on your own and listening to your own thoughts, and just give yourself a break, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and I did feel this personal solidness, and then, like you said, you can go from that point. You have this wonderful point to go from, and go through the world and see things, see a bigger picture, and not with selfishness or an arrogance or anything like that. It's just that feeling of being that you're okay. Okay, whatever. It's hard to put into words, really.
Yeah.
But then I've come back to the farm, and it's there. It's still there. It goes on, and it's a wonderful thing. And you use whatever you need as your protection as you go through these stages. And there was one point, I think, Mandira, that you brought up with relationships and with parents, because that was something I really noticed, that when I went away and I came back, and suddenly realised that my parents were just these ordinary people, like I was, just normal human beings trying to do the best in life, like I was doing, and stop judging them as these superior beings who had to be perfect. All that was gone. I just saw them completely differently, just people like me, like anyone else, just doing their best with what they've been given. And that was a wonderful awakening and realization.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So I advise anyone, just go and be on your own and enjoy it.
Yes.
Great, beautiful thoughts.
Yes.
But you haven't answered. Is this the age of female farmers now? Shall we start that revolution now?
Can do.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's no limit placed on this sort of thing now. We might not have the same physical capabilities, but it doesn't really matter. I think the roles have to be explored, and because farming isn't what it used to be, it can't be done in the same way. We can't make a living from it in the same way. A lot of farms have had to diversify into all sorts of different things, and this has taken a connection of the people within the business, because a farm, it is a business. You know, you have animals, you have land, but they are making a living for you and your family. And the imagination that has gone on with these diversification projects has been wonderful. And it's taken the female element, the male element, whatever you want to call it, to come up with these creations. And everyone, and all roles have been not just switched, but just mixed and rediscovered.
I was only saying because I want to be a farmer. Mandira wants to be on a farm.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like my city days are over. I've lived in the city for far too long. I long to be in natural environment, and especially a
Yes.
farm, to do
Yeah.
something with my hands and have this earth connection as well.
Yeah.
A farm
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean,
beach. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, on the beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, a farm takes so much dedication and devotion to make it work as this business. And I know, like, a lot of people see it in this sort of idyllic way, but I mean, obviously it's a lot of hard work. Yeah, and complete sacrifice. Unlike the generation of, like, my parents, you know, they just had to give themselves 100% to what they were doing, and there's no room for letting that down. You know, you have to get up every morning and do those jobs and look after the animals. And I don't know if a lot of people are aware of what it does take. But I think a lot of people would welcome that kind of devotion. I think that's a very human element, that we do want to devote ourselves to something like that. That kind of cause.
Yes. We have to be busy constantly, otherwise, you know, we are dead. And I think that physical busyness as well would help.
And
definitely.
Yeah, and it's really, I see it as tending to the greatest healer, which is Mother Earth. And as Anika was saying, all healers need healing, and this is the time more than ever that we need to be there to help restore the earth, and whatever we can do to contribute to that, whatever, or for any one of us in whichever walk or place of life, to do what they can to be more natural, more eco-sustaining, and all of that.
So I'm coming to your farm now, Rowena. I
Me
need
too.
to come to your farm.
Me too.
And do some
that's
work.
fine. Yeah,
please
anytime.
employ me.
Yeah, fine. Yeah. There's another element I thought of it is like the recycling element of a farm as well. I think this is something that we desire for a connection with, just that the natural process of you know, producing food in whatever way, vegetables, animals, and there just being that round cycle that we all learn about in school, of everything going round and round. And I think we want to be part of that. It's a natural process, and have it as a balance as well, for it to be balanced. And when that is balanced, then everything can balance together.
Yes.
So
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for your wonderful contribution and beautiful thoughts. And I'm sure we will continue this dialogue again. And Rowena can also tell us maybe the next leap in her eco farming or eco entrepreneurship, how she developed that. And Mandira, you are back to normal in life, lockdown over. So are you now dancing away?
Well, I was dancing through the lockdown. I mean, I danced through everything. I danced through my divorce, etc. too. But I mean, that's it. Dance is everything. That could be
another topic.
Yeah, but this is a dance of life, right? It keeps shifting and changing, and the movements change, but the dance of life has to go on, and it will go on. And the world outside is going to keep changing, but we have to be taking care of our inner selves, so that, because what we create around us came out of us. And for those of us who are aware of that, at least we can work on that and keep that energy healthy and positive, and hopefully change the system through that.
Beautiful note to end on. Thank you, ladies. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Bye.